Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarian. Recent Tartarian.
David, can you hear me?
Maybe it's Facebook.
Well, let me
For
check.
some reason today I can't hear you that well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me try. I can hear you. Let me see if I can turn
Oh,
up.
now I can hear you.
Okay?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's fine. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, so it's crazy. Last time we talked, things have changed so much. I know you have a new book out. What's going on?
The new book is called Napoleon Did Not Exist in several languages. In some languages, it's called Napoleon and the Mud Flood. Yes,
Wow.
It depends on which language, because in some languages, they don't have a word for mud flood. Yeah, so that's why I just left it as Napoleon Did Not Exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's the latest book. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, how are you anyway?
I'm
What's
pretty
the
good.
latest?
I'm pretty good. I mean, the world's getting crazy over here, you know. But I've been doing more and more digging into the stuff that we did last time, and so it was interesting that you brought up Napoleon, because one of the videos we did recently about cannibalism, there's a bunch of articles. I found some Dumas quotes referring to Napoleon as the cannibal who became His Majesty, right? Like, and basically in all these old stories, the cannibal Napoleon, and then from
Okay,
cannibal to
good.
majesty.
Okay. Now I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes. You'll find a lot of information about that. You'll also find a lot of information about Napoleon the Playboy. There's even, he was like this with women or like that with women. You'll find information about Napoleon being arrogant. He was a killer. He was a psycho, a maniac like Hitler. You'll find information that, oh no, Napoleon was a genius. He was an expert, blah, blah, blah. And the more you get into it, yeah, if you're somebody smart, you will start thinking there's so many different contradicting stories. Who is releasing these stories?
Yeah, I mean, like all the stories
Yes.
about Napoleon.
Like, for example, you sent me Alexander Dumas.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to actually go out there and check who is Alexander Dumas? Yes, and then people are going to say, we've got information about Napoleon Bonaparte. Is anybody actually going to open up any books from 1820, 1840? Do we actually have books from that time? Yes, that are about Napoleon Bonaparte, or are they what historians say? Yeah, this is actually from the 1824. Yes.
Well, I mean, Dumas
is anybody opening these books up, or they're not? Like, for example, in 100 years' time, I can imagine right now, they're all going to say, coronavirus did this, coronavirus did that. And people are going to open up the books and they're just going to be reading the figures. But anybody who's smart is going to think, I'm going to check what were the figures in Mongolia. Then I'm going to check the Vietnam date of coronavirus and Cambodia. Then they're going to check everywhere and then say, what did the Americans report about the number of deaths in, let's say, Bangladesh and Myanmar and Cambodia and Vietnam? Then they will go to those countries and check the records and check others. And then, do you know what? If anybody who's smart will think, hey, they're all full of garbage. They're all saying totally different numbers and data in a time when the world had internet and everything, and they were supposed to have accurate records. Mm-hmm. This is when somebody will think, hey, there's something wrong here. So now when it comes to Napoleon, they are telling us there is a man who's practically at war for 19 years, since he started his campaign in Italy until Waterloo, or if you want to say 19 years from when he first got into the army and when he became an emperor, but that's halfway. You can just go on and on. So how many of these original books have you looked at, Andreas?
Oh, I mean, so when I think about the French period, right, there's Victor Hugo, Les Miserables.
Victor Hugo lived after him.
Right. All of these are all of that, and that's an interesting point about Dumas as well, because he wrote.
And who said Victor Hugo even existed?
I mean, this is all fair. So I mean,
We've got a problem because
I just want to say, I think of the Count of Monte Cristo, and I think of the Three Musketeers.
Do you know what problem we've got with people like Victor Hugo? Yes, in England, because I'm from England, there were many of the elder generation has passed away now, but they were alive 20 years ago, and they told their children and grandchildren, when we went to France, the so-called French army in World War One couldn't speak French. We didn't even know if they were French or not. And they couldn't communicate with each other because almost all of them spoke different languages, and we don't know if they were languages or dialects.
Right.
So if they couldn't speak French and they learnt it in school in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, then who did Victor Hugo write for, by the way? Was he writing for ghosts? Or was the work of Victor Hugo written in the 20th century and they just said, hey, this was written back in the days? And then to verify it, they've just got backdated editions of newspapers, etc.
Absolutely. I mean, so
nobody's checking these things. Okay, what I will do
last week, actually, 75% of France in 1793 could not speak French, and so that's
more than 75%. By the way, by the way, regardless of official estimates, there's people who are doing research themselves, and it's not hard to do research because, people's fathers, anybody who's aged around 50, about 10, 15 years older than me, then they remember their dads telling them, or their grandfathers were alive when they were younger, and they were told, hey, the French couldn't speak French. Right. Or when we encountered the Germans, they couldn't even speak German in World War One.
So that was even weirder. So when I was digging into the thing to look for any discrepancies in what you sent me, proof that you were right to the weirdest level. So now, not only that, in 19th century, French was spoken more widely in Holland and Germany than in parts of France. So I mean, what the heck?
Right. Let me tell you there now. When they say French was spoken in Holland and Germany, the books, do you know the history books? They're referring to the 5% very upper class and the people who are in power.
It makes sense. Like
it's not people like you today. And me.
The French schools today are still doing that. I buy it.
Right. So the thing is, because we've spoke many times, and I had a look at your videos, and you've got many people who are following you, and they're really interested in your work. Yeah. What I will do is this will take me 5 minutes, possibly up to 10 minutes, to do an introduction about the new book. Yeah. And I will do it in this way. Yeah, because so that's for the benefit of the people and the questions that people ask. I'll send you all these one by one, and then so that people can check themselves, and they will be able to figure out if a man called Napoleon Bonaparte existed or not. With all these stories, then it won't be very difficult. Now, I've sent you the first picture. You can upload these in the video later. The first picture, people can check. Napoleon Bonaparte was 19 years old, and he was a soldier when the French Revolution started in 1789.
There's that lunar cycle again,
that is
19.
Yeah, that's the first photograph. The second photograph that I've sent you is Napoleon Bonaparte was from a noble family or nobility, upper class, according to historians. All this is official history. Yes, and his family was recognized to be a part of a noble family, the nobility, on 19th of August, 1771.
Right,
yes?
It also says
19th of August.
Saying Corsica High Council, not necessarily French, right? So he's Corsican, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but the dates are important. Now, let me send you all of these. We'll talk about them in a minute. Now, at that time, the French, it was the time of the French Revolution. At that time, the finance minister was a man called Jacques Necker, Monsieur Jacques Necker. Yes, and he published the first ever financial documents of France on the 19th of February, 1781. And France at the time, the document showed France was in debt. It's spending too much money is practically going bankrupt. So he published those accounts. Now the next thing is the French financed, according to historians, that they financed a large part of the American War of Independence, that they were fighting the British. Were they really fighting the British, or were they fighting somebody else called Tartaria or the Kingdom of God? Now, Jacques Necker, yes, the Minister de Finance, the finance minister, he was forced to resign on the 19th of May, 1781. So then France turned into a period of darkness, yes, for the next few years. This will take up to 5 or 10 minutes. Let me send you a few of these, then people will think, what the hell is going on? So what happened is the French king called the parliament, and the parliament is called the Estates General, or the Ancien Regime. And in that they had the first estate, second estate, third estate. Means they had the clergy, or the religious guys, the nobles, the rich guys, and the common people. The third estate, you and me. Yes. So what happened is on the 19th of June, the third estate, you and me, we became powerful. People from the other group started joining us. So when that happened on the 19th of June, 1789, the king closed us down. They closed you and me down, saying we're closing the doors. I'm not having this. The common people getting power.
Right.
Well, check the date out, 19th of June. Yes, this is what they're teaching us. This is the year of the French Revolution now. We're actually on the year. So what happens straight after that is that Necker, le Minister de Finance, the finance minister Necker, he was dismissed. Straight after that is the famous revolution, the main event called the storming of the Bastille. And what happens is people are angry, saying Necker has been dismissed. So now what happens is the storming of the Bastille happens on the 14th of July. There's riots and protests. So what does the king do? The king says, Necker, you can come back on the 19th of July. 19th of July to calm everything down. So now what do they do in France every year? Yes, every year in France, they have a celebration of the storm of the Bastille. It's called Bastille Day, 14th of July. The Bastille Day, they have a military parade. It's on the Avenue des Champs-Élysées, and it starts at the Champs-Élysées, and then it goes to the Place de la Concorde. And this is exactly 1900 meters long. They march 1900 meters, and then they end up at the Place de la Concorde. Yes, and people can check this, the Place de la Concorde, where the Bastille Day celebrations seem like the 4th of July. It's so big over there. So when you arrive at the Place de la Concorde, where the Bastille Day celebration of the revolution ends, this is 19 acres in area. So then they're telling us, historians are telling us, in 2016, there was an attack on the Bastille Day celebrations in the city of Nice. And the person who did this attack used a 19-ton truck. Now this involves the Americans now. Now then, the revolution next phase is the Americans. They're saying that the revolution was witnessed by Thomas Jefferson himself. He was in France in 1789, and he sends a full report to the US Secretary of Foreign Affairs on the 19th of July, 1789. And he has meetings in his house with a man called Monsieur de Lafayette, or Marquis de Lafayette. And what do they do together? And who is Lafayette? Lafayette fought in the American Revolution. Yes, you know, the American War of Independence. Now, this will get people in the United States worried. Yes, they can check into this more. So the American War of Independence started when the first fighting started on the 19th of April, 1775. And at that time, Lafayette was in the United States. Yeah, and he met George Washington himself. Lafayette was 19 years old. And the first day he did battle, his first day, the worst day, you know, he thought it was like the end of the world, was September the 11th, 1777.
Oh,
I'm being serious. Wait till you go through all this and start laughing. They are telling us this is true history.
Gosh.
So now So now the next thing is Lafayette and George Washington fight in the final battle of the War of Independence, and America can be free. It's called the Siege of Yorktown, and it happened. And it happened when the Americans had victory and the British surrendered at Yorktown on the 19th of October,
Oh, man.
1781.
That's
Yes,
coming
the
up this
end
week.
of-
What a happy anniversary. This is the 19th for us all. Great.
Yeah. So wait. Let me do this for 10 minutes. Then people will get
Wait, I have to ask
get
you
the
real quick.
idea.
I have a quick question. The Place de la
Before that,
Concorde-
let
Place
me
de
finish
Concorde
this.
has the obelisk, right? That's like the.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Place de la Concorde. Oui.
Keep going.
Yes. So now Lafayette, he's working together with Thomas Jefferson, and they invent something called Déclaration des droits de l'homme, called Declarations of the Rights of Mankind or Man. And this is now the United Nations talks about it, and they say it's a great thing. Now, if you speak French, monsieur, en français, in French, we say les droits des hommes, droit. Now, droit is similar to Hebrew and Arabic. Droit, it comes from the word Torah or Torah. Comes from the word right or Torah. Same like the word truth in English. Truth comes from the word Torah, or from the Torah of the prophet Moses. Yes, Torah is an English word. In Arabic and Hebrew, they say Torah or Torah, depending. So now the Declaration of the Rights of Man, yes, is by Lafayette, and he's helped by Thomas Jefferson. But Lafayette, he has to run away from France because they're going to kill him. So he runs away on the 19th of August, 1792. He wants to go back to America, but the Austrians capture him. So now the next thing is, during the French Revolution, the Declaration of the Rights of Mankind, yes, where does it end up? It goes to the French Parliament or the National Assembly. Wait till you see what's in this Declaration of the Rights of Man. Yes, the draft that Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson and their men prepared had 19 articles. It was presented to the French Assembly on 17th of August, but they examined it on the 19th of August. They started examining it. And then after a few days, they selected only 17 articles. All these things that I've given you, like the last page, they're from serious links: local.gov.uk, UNESCO.org, Britannia Encyclopedia. This is official history. So now what happens is the French National Assembly, yes, they're going through a headache with the king, etc. They're in Versailles. They decide to move into Paris. They have their first ever meeting in Paris in history on the 19th of October in 1789. Yes, and this is practically the birth of the French nation away from the royal family. So now they say they moved from Versailles Palace because that is 19 kilometers west of Paris. I measured it myself, and it looks like it's 18 kilometers, but they're going to say it's 19. Same like if you open up the BBC or France 24 and many newspapers, they say the bridge that Putin built, even if it's 18 kilometers, they said, no, it's 19 kilometers and it was on fire. And then immediate reports, well, the longest reports, they said, oh, the bridge was 19 kilometers, it's on fire. And then Putin attacked Kiev and 19 people died in the main part of the killings. They updated these numbers later. Only a few news channels said something
more
different.
that it's the number 19 than anything. Like, that's the part that matters.
Let the people decide that.
Right.
I'm reading out the main points of the French Revolution and Napoleon Bonaparte. I've not invented this myself. So now there is a man called Maximilien Robespierre. Robespierre is the leader of the Jacobins. Anybody who studies this, it's boring as hell. Jacobins. He becomes elected as one of the secretaries of the National Assembly on the 19th of June, 1790. So now France at that time has royal family, blah, blah, blah. It didn't have a president and all that. So at that time, royal family is turning into a republic. So what does the French Revolution do? On the 19th of June, 1790, the nobility is abolished. And these titles of nobility, they abolish them.
On the
yes,
19th?
A man called Napoleon. Yeah, on the 19th of June, 1790. As long as you learn 19, that's it. You're going to be top of your class.
This isn't even the first 19th of June, though, too. So there's something about that also. But yeah, crazy.
Yeah. wait, let me just give it a bit more. So now, there's the thing is, at that time they call it the Age of Enlightenment. It's a famous period of history, and they say, you know, people are arguing over miles, meters, kilometers, etc. And they say the French had the best scientists in the world because they used their brains, or the age of reason, and they invented the metric system. Yes, this idea was proposed by the Académie des Sciences de Paris, you know, the French Academy of Science, and they originally proposed this idea on the 19th of March, 1791. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So now everybody's worried that the French are going to kill the king and queen and all these royals. So what happens in Europe? They think, hey, we got to invade and get rid of all these Republicans and Democrats, etc. So what happens? The Austrians, the Prussians are Germans, but they call them Prussians in that part of history. Yeah. So they invade France and they cross the border into France with the Duke of Brunswick on the 19th of August, 1792. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What happens is they only sent half their armies. Yes, because just before they entered France, in that period of history, it's called the Partitions of Poland. They say Poland was a big country, and then Russia started invading it with Austria and Prussia. And Russia invaded Poland that same year on 19th of May, 1792. Wow. They crossed the border at nighttime on the 18th, and they were inside the country by the 19th. So now, you know, what happens is everybody knows about France, liberté, égalité, fraternité. Everyone talks about these great French rights and the great system. So now in France, they now made something new, saying, we are going to help all the world and help them to save them and help them to recover their liberty. It's called the Edict of Fraternity. And they made a declaration to the world, we'll help everybody on 19th of November, 1792. So now what do? They decide we're going to kill King Louis. Everyone knows about this. They execute the king. It's a famous story. How do they kill the king? The king is arrested, they imprison him, and then they condemn him to death in January 1793. So now they have a debate, and the final decision to say, no, he's going to be killed, executed, simple as, was on the 19th of January, 1793. So now, here comes Napoleon Bonaparte. He suddenly starts getting famous at that time. So Napoleon Bonaparte has his first ever victory, yes, called the Siege of Toulon. And he defeats the British and forces them to leave the port of Toulon on the 19th of December, 1793. Yes, then they say France at that time goes into the reign of terror, all these executions, guillotine, you know, they say they're chopping the heads off and everything, yeah? Yeah, in the revolution, it's called the reign of terror, yeah? And so what they do is they made the law of execution decree, yes, was on the 19th of March, 1793, saying we will execute any rebel who has got arms and weapons. They add to this and they say, even if you don't have weapons, you can kill him anyway on the 17th of September. Yes, but the main law was on 19th of March, 1793, execution law. Then, you know, all the world slowly picked up France's law. They're telling us France was one of the few countries in the world to provide free and compulsory education for all children. It's called the Bouquier Law of 19 December 1793. They say, we're going to give all the children free education so that we can teach them what we want to tell them. Emphasis they will have to learn the history that we say. Huh?
Emphasis on compulsory, right.
Yes, yeah, it's like they're going to teach them Bonaparte existed.
Right.
Yes, and they're going to teach them coronavirus.
And that Tartaria did not.
Yeah. So now the next thing. So now Maximilien Robespierre, he becomes the leader of France. And he says, anybody who doesn't believe in my supreme being, because everyone's asking, what is the one eye on the dollar? Yes, if you follow this 19 thing in the history of France, you'll know the one eye on the dollar is a lie. And all the history they're telling us on history books, Britannia, everything saying, it was the supreme being, everything, they're lying. Because now Maximilien Robespierre, who believed in the supreme being, yes, he was the leader of France. Yes, he was opposed by somebody who says you should worship reason, called Jacques Hébert. Yes, and so what happened on the 19th of March, 1794, Jacques Hebert and his men, 19 of his followers, were arrested and executed. Yeah, that evidence, that number, historians themselves have changed it several times, but they use mainly 19. So now, then what happens to Robespierre, the leader of France? He himself gets executed on the 28th of July, but he's executed with 19 of his followers. Yes? So now Napoleon Bonaparte, so in France, what they do at that time, they change a new calendar and they say, we're going to have a calendar called the French Republic calendar. Yes? This is what historians tell us. But soon you will know this calendar is a fake too. So now Napoleon Bonaparte gets married on the 19th of Ventose in year 4. They call it Ventose in French. So that's the date he gets married. So now that's 1796. So now it's still the French Revolution years. Yes, Napoleon's still coming up. Yes. What happens is that they want to make sure they control all the public officials. Everybody's got to say that we hate the royal family and we hate royal people. So a law is passed on the 19th of Ventose, year 4, saying that we all hate the royals and anybody to do with royal people, etc. But notice it's all 19.
Question. What is this windy month?
Yes.
Do you know what windy month means? It has parentheses, windy month.
Ventose, that's just a translation. It doesn't matter. It's same like, what is January meaning? What is the meaning of Monday?
March is windy month for them. Interesting, like Mercury or something.
Yeah. So now Napoleon Bonaparte, he has to go to invade Italy. Yes, the French Republic revolutionary government sends him there. He has one of his most famous victories called the Battle of Rivoli in 1797. Now, historians say he had 19,000 troops that day, and during the campaign, up to 23,000 troops. So now in 1797, historians are telling us there's a newspaper or magazine that's going out around France called Journal of Bonaparte and Good Men. Journal de Bonaparte des Hommes Vertueux. And its first edition comes out on the 19th of February, 1797. It's in French and nobody can speak French. So maybe, this book was for ghosts. Yes. So now while Napoleon is in France, yes, in Italy, while he's in Italy, he's fighting the Pope and all these people and friends of the Popes. They call it Papal States. Yeah, they sign a treaty with him on the 19th of February, 1797. Yeah, he just goes on and on. Yeah. But the thing is, I'm going to put it like this because, or otherwise people are going to think, hey, Andreas, you're crazy. You're bringing somebody on. What's he talking about? So give it a few more minutes. So now what happens is in 1797, there's another revolt in Paris and a coup d'etat takes place. Napoleon sent military help from Italy. He provides the documents for this to happen. And then on 19th of September, he explains why he sent soldiers to change the government because he wants a strong government in France. Yes. So, so people are asking why, and he explains it on that. So now this new government that comes into power, yes, on the 19th of Fructidor, yes, this is the calendar of France, in year 5, yes, they bring out a new death penalty, saying that all people in the church must swear an oath saying we hate the royalty, blah, blah, blah.
Whoa.
So now, how did Napoleon Bonaparte find many soldiers for his armies? Yeah, the French revolutionary government passed a law on the date of 19th of Fructidor, year 6, yeah, called the Jourdan Law or Jordan Law, forcing men to join the army. And that's how Napoleon got many soldiers for his army. Yes, this is what historians are telling us. Yes, nobody checks these very major facts. So now Napoleon Bonaparte invaded Egypt and he went to the Sphinx and the pyramids, people say. He left France on the 19th of May just to go to Egypt. Yes. Yeah. So now when he leaves France on the 19th of May, yes, he makes plans for the invasion of Malta. And this is known from his letters from 19th of April, 1798.
Yeah, I see that's there. I mean, even if people don't understand the value of 19 immediately, I mean, a
to
lot of
Egypt.
a
So
lot of
now
people are
Napoleon
clearly,
Bonaparte.
even if we don't always understand it, clearly these people had an obsession with this number. There's no way that they just did
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so now Napoleon's in Malta, and then he's conquered the place. He's about to go to Egypt. He leaves Malta on the 19th of June. Yes.
There's that
So
19th of June again. I think June might be important. I don't know. I guess they're all important. But
no,
I've seen
that
June
you,
a couple times.
soon you'll figure out there's more
Right.
because this has got to do with the day God became man, according to these
Okay.
people. Yeah, and the day that God, the day God jumped out of his grave was on the 19th. Wait till we get to this part.
Oh, God. All right.
Ah, you're going to be shocked by this.
I'm holding
It's
on to
all
my
in this
seat.
new book about Napoleon. Yes. So now what happens is he goes to Egypt and they find the Rosetta Stone where they can translate hieroglyphics that nobody knew what hieroglyphics were until that day. The hieroglyphics were found, the Rosetta Stone, they say 19th of July, 1799. Some people question this.
I mean,
So
it
now
says
another thing
222
is,
years ago. There's definitely some numerology going on in this article. All right. Sorry.
oh yes, this numerology. So now the thing is, he's gone to Egypt and he takes 19,000 of his best soldiers. And I put it there that the thing is, historians can't make their mind up. Some of them say 30,000, 35,000, 40,000 soldiers. They say he had how many ships? Let me see. They say he had 300 ships. Sometimes they say he had 400 ships. Yeah, they can't make their mind up
Every single
how
one of
many.
these numbers is numerologically and geometrically valuable. 33,
Yes,
54, 36.
but the main thing is the number 19,
19.
because the number 19 is the alpha and the omega, 1 and 9. Yeah, it's the numbers of the spectrum. So people will have to read my books for that. It's too difficult to explain in an interview. Anyway, Napoleon's in Egypt right now. Yeah, he's in Egypt, and everybody's seen these photographs of.
Oh, there's a block. Can you say it again? Hello? David.
Him. He goes right beside the Sphinx. And I've given you a particular picture of this.
David, start.
He goes to the Sphinx.
There was a blackout there. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
Go back to the beginning
Yes.
of the Egypt part.
Yes.
Yeah, repeat the Egypt part.
Yeah. Yeah, so now Napoleon's inside Egypt, and there's paintings, famous paintings, and other pictures showing that he goes to the Sphinx. So now when he goes to the Sphinx, they show him that he's there. I've sent you a particular picture with the Sphinx, pointing out where is the Sphinx Stela. So now Napoleon went there, yes, and they say, yes, and historians have made sure this is a rumor, because they want you to just waste your time investigating this. Yes, but they don't want you to figure it out. So now at the Sphinx, there's a message.
It's blocking you again. There's a silence.
Written to the world in hieroglyphics.
Say it again.
And the Sphinx has a message from the ancient Egyptians now.
There's a huge gap there. So there's a message. Say it again. They're trying to silence you.
Right. So Napoleon arrives in Egypt. And now when he arrives in Egypt, historians are showing us that he goes to the Sphinx and these areas. So he goes to the Sphinx. And the thing is, there's paintings of it. They're famous. I've given you a picture of that with an arrow showing the Sphinx Stela. So now,
what's a stela? The square that's
it's just right. Yeah, it's just writing with hieroglyphics on it.
Oh, okay.
So now the thing is, they are telling us Napoleon didn't write the hieroglyphics and the Europeans didn't, and they're saying we've only found the Sphinx these days, and we've only just translated this stuff. And on there, the hieroglyphics has a message to the whole world, and the message is from the 19th day of the Majesty of Horus. 19th day. Oh, this is from the ancient Egyptians.
Yeah.
Woo!
Of course.
So now this means ancient Egyptian history. They've played with it.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. And Horus,
yes,
hours,
it's fake. This is why my book on ancient Egypt shows this. So now So now he's at the Sphinx. The Sphinx is 19 meters wide. And they say today the Sphinx is 20 meters high. But they say when Napoleon was there, the place was still buried and it was 19 meters high and 19 meters wide when Napoleon Bonaparte was there because it was buried by 1 meter. Okay. So now they say
you got blocked again.
Napoleon entered the pyramids, but this is just a rumor that these historians give. If he entered, hello?
Yeah, there's a weird there was a block there. So you say that Napoleon entered the pyramids?
Yes. So now the thing is about Napoleon, they say, and the historians say this is just a rumor and there's no evidence for it. But historians spread the rumor in the first place because they wrote these history books, and historians and their masters who they work for control the media and the press. And they say Napoleon went inside the pyramids and he went to the king's chamber. Now, in those days, the original entrance of the pyramids is on the 19th layer of the masonry.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, so we know that the people who wrote the history are the people who falsified the history of ancient Egypt. So now, if Napoleon did go inside the king's chamber, we have a problem with the king's chamber. The king's chamber is 19 feet high. So now Napoleon, after this, yes, he's back in France. Yeah, he goes around Egypt and around Levant, but they weren't famous stories. So now he comes back, and in France there is a coup d'état. The coup d'état starts in the French month of 18th of Brumaire, and on the 19th of Brumaire, Napoleon becomes one of the first consuls, and he makes his declaration to the French people. So this is the day that Napoleon gains power. You can hear me, yes?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
It's always interesting
So now
the connection between 18 and 19 too, right? They're like, yeah.
No. 18 is the day of the coup,
Yeah.
but the day he gets power and makes his declaration is the 19th.
Right. +1.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's the next day, so it is the 19th. So now Napoleon Bonaparte, he's in Paris now. He's the first consul or the leader. He needs somewhere to live. He moves into a magnificent palace called Tuileries Palace on the 19th of February, 1800. Yes. So now they turn around and say, Napoleon, he starts rewarding people. Yes. He creates the Legion of Honor, the French Legion of Honor, on the 19th of May, 1802. So now Napoleon Bonaparte, yes, he turned around and says, yes, Jeanne d'Arc, or Joan of Arc, and he makes her into a national symbol of France. Historians say this. And Joan of Arc was burnt to death when she was 19 years old. Oh, she was burnt because she helped France in her time in the Middle Ages win the 100 Years' War. Yes,
Yeah.
and France won the 100 Years' War on the 19th of October, 1453, when Bordeaux surrendered to the French. Yes,
Yeah.
so now Joan of Arc, yes, what happens to her? She becomes beatified as a saint by Pope Pius X on 18th or 19th of April, 1909. Now encyclopedia.com says it's April the 19th, but Wikipedia says it's 18th.
Right.
So
yeah.
now we've got to, so don't worry about that.
I'm
Many
always
people
convinced
are.
it's the 19th, and this happens.
Okay, many people don't check the original documents.
George Washington's birthday is celebrated on the 19th.
But anyway,
it was the 18th in the old books. They've changed
we'll talk about America next time, because today we're focusing on Napoleon. Yes, don't worry.
The 19th is everywhere. It's and they do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, so now Joan of Arc, they've turned her into a saint, and it's the celebration day. I've sent you a copy of evidence that's from that time, and the evidence from that time shows 19th of April. But many historians say this is an error. It doesn't matter, but the documentation shows it's the 19th. But do you know what is even bigger? What if there was no beatification ceremony? Because we don't have any proof apart from photographs from that time, which could mean anything. That photograph could have been taken on any day, same like the history of Napoleon Bonaparte. There's no evidence that any of this happened. They're telling us it happened on the 19th, this and that. We've got no evidence for it. Yes? So now, Joan of Arc, yes, after the church turned her into a saint, yes, and Napoleon Bonaparte made her important, yes, there's a Christian prayer for her called the novena. And the instructions for this prayer is you have to say the Lord's Prayer 19 times.
Oh, man.
Can you still?
David, you there?
Still hear me?
Yeah,
I'm just making sure.
It blocked,
yes. So now, what happens next? Napoleon Bonaparte, they declare. Napoleon. Yeah, so Joan of Arc, yes, they made a prayer for her called the Novena, yes, and they say you've got to say the Lord's Prayer 19 times for Joan of Arc if you want her to be your saint. So now, anyway, Napoleon Bonaparte, they declared him to be the Emperor of France on the 18th of May, 1804. He started ruling on the 19th of May, 1804 as the Emperor of France, and he established his imperial court and nobility starting on the 19th of May, 1804. Yes. The more people look at this, it becomes a joke. It's just to see. It's a serious joke. So now Napoleon Bonaparte was started as an army officer in 1785, and now he's become at the top of his world. He's crowned as the Emperor of France 19 years later in 1804. Oh yes.
Yeah.
So now.
Cycle touring in France, 1804, Bonaparte had himself crowned Emperor of France 19 years after becoming an officer in the French army.
Now, what happens is, now the battle of 1805, and the British are led by Lord Nelson, and he's fighting against the French. Yes, what happened is the French set sail on the 19th of October, 1805. They set off with 33 French and Spanish warships.
Well, come on.
Yes.
Even if you guys don't get 19, you get 33, I'm pretty sure. So that's right.
Yes, I'll explain what the 33 is next time, because 33 is linked to 19, but it comes after 19. Many people already know about 33, but they don't know that to get to 33, you've got to go through 19 first. Well, I'll explain that in another interview if we ever get the chance. Yeah, hopefully very soon. So now, what happens is during the battle, Lord Nelson wins, but he dies. He's fighting on a ship called the HMS Victory. Yes, and the French, they lost that day. They lost 19 ships at the Battle of Trafalgar. Some historians say 20, but the majority say 19. Yeah, sometimes they say 20, so that nobody noticed, but 90% say 19. Anyway, so now let's check out the HMS Victory ship. So now many people from all over the world come to England, and they go to Portsmouth to see this warship called the HMS Victory. Now, right beside that ship, in Portsmouth Harbour, there is another warship there from Britain called the Mary Rose. And this is the Mary Rose and the HMS Victory are the two most important warships in British history. Now, the Mary Rose fought during the Middle Ages or beginning of the Renaissance, and it fought against the French on the Battle of Solent on 19th of July, 1545, and that day the warship was sunk. Oh yeah, the warship had a service history of 33 years, or 33 and a half, and some say 34. But they rounded it off to 33 years, and it was sunk on the 19th of July, 1545. So now this warship, beside Nelson's warship called the Mary Rose, it sunk. But guess what? They find the warship in 1971. Now, when they find the warship, yeah, it's at the bottom of the sea. They bring it out, and they're so lucky. They found 19,000 historical items together with the warship. So lucky. All these are in the museum. People can go and see them. It's genuine history. And because the warship was buried in the sea for hundreds of years, it took them 19 years to put chemical wax to repair this warship. Ooh, 19 years. But now it's repaired. We can go and see it. Now, when many people look for the Mary Rose online, they're going to get confused, because there is another famous warship called the Mary Rose for British history. That's good. If people start checking this, they'll find, David said there was Mary Rose, but it looks like there's another one. Yes, there is. Now, the other Mary Rose, there's a few of them. Now, the second famous Mary Rose fought against the Spanish Armada in 1588. Now, the Spanish Armada had 19,000 soldiers. It was so terrifying. It was a mega serious challenge in history. 19,000 soldiers of the Spanish Armada in 1588. So now the British knew that the Spanish were building the Armada. So now we've got Sir Francis Drake, a very famous person that people learn about in history. He goes to destroy the Spanish Armada 1 year before the Spanish come to England. 1 year before the Spanish come to England. Wait, let me just send you that one, because I've not sent you this one. He goes to fight the Spanish 1 year before they come to England, and the battle where he destroys them is in Cadiz on the 19th of April, 1587. But now some historians, yes, have changed this slightly and say 29th of April, but that's to do with the calendar change, Gregorian or Julian or whatever. But even after the calendar change, many historians, here is a copy of a document from the Dictionary of National Biography. This is a copy from 1885, and it still says 19th of April, 1587. So now the thing is, he failed, and the Spanish Armada comes to England, to the English Channel, and it arrives in the English Channel. Oh no, they're going to invade England. They've just arrived on the 19th of July, 1588. And do you know why they came? Oh, this is very important. Why did the Spanish Armada come to invade England? They are so angry that Queen Elizabeth of England had just executed Mary Queen of the Scots. Mary Queen of the Scots was a prisoner for 19 years. Yes, and then they chopped her head off 19 years later. Oh, well, what do we know about Mary Queen of Scots? But why did they imprison her? Mary Queen of Scots, when she was a baby, she went to France. No, she became a queen when she was a baby. She went to France when she was 6 years old, and she returned to Scotland on 19th of August, 1561, a few weeks before her 19th birthday. Now, when she came back to Scotland, she became a threat to Queen Elizabeth I. Well, why was she dangerous to Queen Elizabeth I? Because Queen Elizabeth I was the illegitimate child of Queen Henry VIII, King Henry VIII, who had these many wives, who married Anne Boleyn. But because, Henry VIII didn't like Anne Boleyn, he had her executed, and he said, this marriage, I don't recognize it, and the children are illegitimate bastards in England. So she was executed on the 19th of May, 1536. You're beginning to see what I'm getting at, yes? So now there's too much. There's too much, and I think it will be unfair, yes, if I say more. But this is in my new book called Tartaria, Napoleon. So in some languages, it's called Napoleon and the Mud Flood. In some languages, it's called Napoleon Didn't Exist. And then more about this 19 is in my book called Illuminati Games, and in the book called Ancient Egypt and Ancient Greece. It's in many of my books, yes. But the thing is, it's because some people will say, what has David been blabbering about? What's he talking about? Yes, maybe he's talking garbage. Yes, but today I have presented all the facts so that people can take a look at these facts themselves. And I hope it helps everybody. Yes.
I mean, it's
so that's that.
Well, I mean, looking at number 19 a bunch recently, and it seems interesting for one thing that 11 days have been moved from the calendar. I don't know if you saw the thing about noon at 9. Right?
I'm so glad that you've mentioned those 11 days.
Yeah.
Because now when you hear about those 11 days, you're going to think, what the hell, man? What the hell's going on here, man? I need to go back to the future.
It's weird that people don't talk about it more, because the founding fathers had to, in America, had to decide: are we going to use this weird new French calendar, or are we going to use the Gregorian? What do we do?
This is what they've told you. Right. So now the thing is, when people hear about this is going to make people really think this is just ridiculous. Now I'm going to send you the reason why they changed the calendar.
Okay.
Now, there is a reason for it. They claim they changed the calendar in the 16th century, but actually, it will take too long, so I won't explain it now. But evidence shows that they really changed this calendar. They changed this calendar only in the last 200 years. Now, according to historians, they changed the calendar at the end of the Renaissance, and they changed it to modify the date of Easter. Now, I've just sent you something, and this will show you why they changed it. Yes, they changed it from the Julian calendar, yes, to make sure that 19th of April becomes the frequent date for Easter.
Why did I
But
forget
wait
that
a
one?
minute.
That's the obvious
No,
one.
no.
Oh,
Right. Anybody can check this.
Easter.
Yeah. So now the main reason they changed the calendar was because of Easter, because they wanted to choose which date will be Easter. So now you will know who is using the number 19.
ISIS
And
worshippers.
this was the Vatican and the boys. They wanted Easter to be around April the 19th. This is why Easter is now the most frequent date is on April the 19th.
Yeah.
But now we got a problem with this. Yes. And the thing is that I'll go through this in basic, because many people will find this a bit difficult to understand. So now at that time, Christianity was establishing itself, and yes, it's growing bigger, and they want to take more control. So now the thing is, this is what they tell us. So now the Julian calendar was the original, and in the original there is a day called Epiphany. But Epiphany, I'll just make it simple. It's the day that Jesus Christ got baptized, or the day that they say that Jesus revealed himself as the Messiah. And I've sent you this, and this day is the 19th of January. It got changed with the new calendar, and there's a few Christians who didn't accept it, but it was the 19th of January when they say God became man. This is the day that God revealed himself, that he is the Messiah, that he is the Son of God, that he is God, became man in flesh. You see the importance of this 19? And then the day that God died and he rose from the dead, that God came back from the dead, is the 19th of April. You see? And they chose the calendars. They created these calendars. You see?
Corporeal manifestation. Yeah.
Yes. Now, I've given you a bit of basic information on this. There's going to be people who are going to say, it doesn't make sense. What's David talking about? It's because this will take too long. Yes. The thing is, if you really want, I could go into this in depth. That it's so deep that people will they actually have to read the book. Yes, it's a little difficult. Like, for example, if they're going to say, what is David talking about? I'll just say a bit more. They'll say, we don't understand this term. Easter, it's not enough evidence because I believe that Christ is the Son of God.
Yeah, but Easter's
I believe in the Bible.
About the Roman calendars.
Yeah. So now I've just sent you about the equinox, spring equinox, or March equinox, or vernal equinox. Now, before they changed the calendar, this equinox in the north happened on the 10th or 11th of March. Now, after they changed the calendar, yes, the equinox now starts on the 19th of March, or between the 19th and the 21st of March. And that's how you calculate Easter. You see? Yep. And now, how was Easter originally calculated? Easter was called the Passover. And this is why in many countries like France, they still call it Paschal, or in other countries, Pascha, to link with Passover. So now Passover was calculated, originally calculated based on the 19-year Metonic cycle. So now we got a problem in the Julian calendar, which accepts the 19-year Metonic cycle to calculate Passover, which was the original, because the original Easter, was between 19 dates, between 21st of March to 18th of April. So on the Julian calendar, even if it wasn't on the 19th of April being the most frequent date, Easter's not on the 19th because they choose it according to their wish, but they made sure that this is the most frequent date, and then they debate and choose the date based on a Sunday, but they make sure it doesn't fall on a Friday. So now, based on the Julian calendar, Easter could only be on 19 days. Woohoo! So now, how did we calculate Easter in the Julian calendar? And it still works. They call it the golden number to calculate the day that God came back from the dead, called the resurrection. And the golden number, you calculate it using the number 19. Oh, and when did they separate Easter and Passover? Because it was the same, supposed to be, a Jewish festival. Yes, they separated it during the Council of Nicaea, and mysteriously they even know the date from 1,600 years ago. They're saying it was on the 19th of June in the year 325. How the hell do they bloody know that? Yeah, it sounds like a joke. And then they say
I
that
remember
on
it like
that
it was
day,
yesterday, right? Yeah.
yeah, and then the Nicene Creed, that is the day they made their declaration of the Nicene Creed, when they declared war against the Arians. And many people are not realizing who the Arians are. Yes, the Aryans, the Aryan race, many people call it. Or was it a group of people who were the followers of Aaron? Yes, who refused to marry anybody else, who didn't believe in the Torah or in the prophet Moses. And these people, they married amongst themselves. But now they've changed it and said, oh, it's something to do with racism that they didn't marry anybody. No. Yes, they've changed the history to falsify it. But mysteriously, it's 19th of June. Oh, the Emperor Constantine, was it? Yes, who separated Easter from Passover. Oh, let's check this Roman Empire out. Constantine the Great. Yes, Constantine the Great became the emperor of all the Roman Empire on 19th of September 324 AD. Yeah, one of the greatest emperors, after he defeated all the rival emperors. Yes, and he held the Council of Nicaea on the 19th. Yes, and this happened, and Constantine first rose to power as being part emperor of the Roman Empire, not fully emperor. And when he declared the Nicene Creed and separated Easter, that was exactly 19 years after he came to power. And yes, what did Constantine do? Historians say he moved the capital from Rome to Constantinople to Istanbul, Turkey, and he built a new palace for the Roman Empire. This new palace is 19,000 square meters, and it's 33 meters from the hippodrome to the shoreline, because it's on a slant. Oh, yeah, it had to be 19,000. I could just go on and on and on, man. Yeah, and if anybody's going to question, is it true that God became man on January the 19th and God came back from the dead on April the 19th? Well, don't worry. Yes, when you're going to go to church or when you're going to look online, they're going to say, hey, we got all the evidence. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, even though we don't know who they are. Matthew, who, Luke, who, John, who. Yes, but we got 5,000 copies of them in the Greek language. Oh, because they're all in the same language and many of them contradict each other. Yeah, and they're full of mistakes and errors and they're not even complete. Don't worry, we've got 19,000 manuscripts of the New Testament. 19,000 in other languages such as Hebrew, Latin, Coptic, etc. Don't worry, there's 19,000. You're going to be okay. Oh, yeah. And where did the Jewish people get the Passover from? Yes, and the Metonic cycle. Yeah, it's based on the Babylonian 19-year cycle, their calendar. Oh, yeah. And when did they apply this Hebrew calendar? The Hebrew calendar was came into effect with the 19-year Babylonian cycle in the year 358, and the Hebrew calendar says that year was in the 41st century, but in the 19th year. Now this means the Hebrew calendar was made by the same people. Yes. So now we've got a problem. So at that time, they had the Jewish New Year called Rosh Hashanah. Now let's check this Rosh Hashanah out. Yes. And the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, they say Adam and Eve, it's the anniversary of the creation of them. So now when this guy called Rabbi Hillel was around, when he created this Hebrew calendar, yes, Rosh Hashanah, yes, the full moon of Rosh Hashanah, when that happened, was on the 19th of September, 358 AD. Yes, and now this calendar that Rabbi Hillel and his laws have made, yes, that you cannot do Passover according to those regulations found in the Mishnah and the Talmud before the 19th of March every year. So now, then when the Julian calendar was rejected by many people and they enforced the Gregorian calendar, when they changed it, check this out. This is so mysterious. They knocked out 10 days, 11 or 12 or 13 days, depending on how you calculate it. Yes. So now Rosh Hashanah was on the 19th. Yes. of September. This is on a Western calendar. So now when they created the Gregorian calendar on the 15th of October, this happened to be in the same month as Rosh Hashanah, but in the 19th day of that month on the Hebrew calendar. As you can see, they're interconnected. They're together. You see?
Absolutely. Wow.
Yes. So now the thing is, my books explains all of these. I'm sorry. I thought I'd introduce it for 5 or 10 minutes, but today I actually thought, because there's many people who've sent many comments, and there's people there, that are putting negative comments. Now the thing is, if they've got any proof that I am wrong, yes, do you know what to do when they comment on this interview? Tell them to put their proof, their links, and write out the full story. I will read it when I have the time, and I will reply and respond in another interview. I've not even nowhere near finished Napoleon Bonaparte. We got diverted at the Battle of Trafalgar. That's all we're at when Napoleon became emperor. I can go through the full thing, and if anybody can say, hey, David, you're wrong, prove it. Prove it. Yes. I'm stating major events, and the thing is, I'm nowhere near anywhere. Yes. And if anybody thinks it's a joke, then so be it. Let them be lost. Nothing to do with me. And the thing is, I've quoted things and I've always given the evidence. And if somebody says I've made these things up, prove it. Prove it. Yes.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing because so many people build their whole reality. It's weird how much people don't think about it, but Napoleon's somebody, the idea of the metric system and modern history and Napoleonic code, they've built it up to be that Napoleon built this world and that there was no world before Napoleon. So it's weird because not a lot of people care, but they do.
Yes. So now
think about how much their world depends on it.
Yes. So now I've given you enough information. I've just gone through Napoleon's just been crowned. Right. There's a long way to go. I'm sure that even you are thinking, I spoke to David before about the number 19, but this is heavy.
Right.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
It's a valuable number to an esoteric group because they're using it all the time, and we've seen them use 33. Yes. We've seen them use 222.
Now, if anybody thinks it's just Napoleon, now this is going to get people thinking, and they're going to think, yes, David has got a point. Taylor Swift, her first song was called Tim McGraw. It was released on the 19th of June. 2006. Yeah. I'll take
June
a few 19th? Minutes.
It's even in June? That was the one.
Yes. Yeah. So now Taylor Swift, she became famous at the time. She was 19 years old and she broke world records at the age of 19. Yes. Now, I'm just going to compare to an average pop star, and soon they're going to see that the music industry is controlled by the same people. Taylor Swift's first album debuted at number 19 on Billboard 200 in October 2006. Yeah?
Even 277. So, I mean, these are all decent numbers.
Yes.
19 is
now,
definitely the
Taylor Swift gave a free concert to students in a school in Virginia in 2009. And they sent 19,000 text messages for this concert. She gave it free, what she normally doesn't do in them days. She's just beginning in them days. So now, let me see now. Taylor Swift was part of Musicians on Call, and she helped over 190,000 people. That's how many people the Musicians on Call helped. Now, so Taylor Swift has a concert.
In the 11th
and her
year.
Mother, yeah, Taylor Swift has a concert, and she has a famous party called the Tea Party, named after Taylor Party. And two people. Her mother chose two people. Her mother was honored that day. It's famous in 2010. Choose two people who could be with Taylor Swift at the Tea Party. And there was 19,000 people that she selected two people from.
Of the 15 to 20 super fans, that sounds a lot like a 19 waiting to happen right there.
Right. Now check this out. Yeah, median. So now Taylor Swift, she's on Spotify. She becomes very big by the year 2014, and she's so successful. She's on 19 million playlists, and it's reported all around the world. Yeah, people read this stuff on all these news channels, and they don't think, oh yeah, in South Dakota, yes, they started building a stadium saying, we want to bring Taylor Swift. It was an official announcement. And they started building a stadium with 19,000 seats in 2014. All these things, people think it's just small news, but they don't realize these things when they go through it. So now Assabet Valley students made a video to connect with Taylor Swift, yes, in 2015. And it had 19,000 views immediately. Yes. So now Taylor Swift.
What a name.
Assabet Valley. Yes. So now there is Taylor Swift. Yes. The media starts comparing her salary to her $1 million a day to people who get £19,000 a day. Yes, that's dollars to pounds, and it's a front page news in many places, and it doesn't make sense why they're comparing £19,000 to $1 million. And then, what do you call it? They're saying that there is a girl in Australia who looks like Taylor Swift. She's 19 years old, and just because she looks like Taylor Swift, she mysteriously gets 19,000 Instagram followers. She's so lucky. Wow. 19,000 followers. Jeez. Yes, and then Taylor Swift, yes, they call her the Aryan goddess for fascist Europe, and she suddenly gets 19,000 likes. Yes, on her fascist Europe post. But as you've noticed, they called her the Aryan goddess. They're using the number 19. The same people who created the fake story of the Aryan race to hide the followers of the Prophet Aaron are doing these things, and they're enjoying it. Yes, they're enjoying it, but it doesn't mean they've won. I could go through Taylor Swift, a lot of the major news that's, advertised by the media. Oh, there was a girl who performed it in Tampa Bay, and she performed in front of 19,000 people because she wants to be the next Taylor Swift.
On the 19th of February. Let's not forget.
Oh, no, the news was released on the 19th of February.
That's good enough. I'll take it.
Yeah. But 19,000 people, yeah, so, and Taylor Swift, what do you call it? Yeah, her cat, by 2016, the media advertised it saying, whoa, her cat's become famous. It's got 19,000 followers on Instagram by 2016. But why didn't they wait till it got 20,000 followers?
Or 33, right? Yeah, why is 19 worth it? Yeah.
Yeah, why did they wait till 19? So as you can see, it just goes on, the thing. So now, in 2017, Taylor Swift released a song called Look What You Made Me Do. It had 19 million views in the first 24 hours and it broke records. Garbage. I'm sure they even made sure it had 19 million written on YouTube or wherever. So as you could see, yes, I could just go on and on and on. And then people will think, what the hell is this?
Well, that's the thing. I know you like to focus on the evidence. That's your thing. You don't like to just guess.
Yes. Now, the thing is, when people understand 19, it's like I've noticed many people have done great videos online on numerology showing, hey, there's the number 777, the number 7, there's the number 13, there's the number 33. They are correct, and they've gone through gematria. But what these people forgot is something, because if they were smart, yes, they are smart. They're very smart, because I learned something from them. Many years ago, I looked through what they were doing, and then I noticed that, hey, there's people in Japan saying, hey, they've noticed suspicious mathematics in events. Yeah, I go to Malaysia, and then the Malaysians are saying, hey, we've noticed all these suspicious things. So wherever I went, because I traveled, it had an advantage. Yeah, I noticed people are doing doing these research things, and there's so many of these blogs and videos saying, hey, this is an inside job, this is a hoax, this is fake. So now then eventually I realized there's a global pattern. And then what I did is, yes, I tried to understand how they are figuring out to do the mathematics, and the mathematics must balance. And because I did accountancy and finance, I noticed that in accountancy and finance, you can't get away with accounts without having it balanced. And because I do business myself, I like to know where every single cent or dollar goes. Yes. So because I like to know everywhere where it goes to balance it, it must be difficult. So now if they're using these mathematical codes, yeah, on the numbers, you go from 0 to 9. 10 is 1 0. So you can only go from 1 to 9. Yes. This is the thing. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you go from 1 to 9. Every single digit is between these numbers. So from there, you work out the spectrum of the numbers, and then what you've got to do is work from 3 dimensions. Like, for example, what you've got to do is when you're planning a crime, or when you're planning, let's say, a marketing campaign, never mind a crime, a marketing campaign, or a brainwashing campaign, yes, to sell a product, what you will do is think, hey, I want to target the people like this, and the opposition, my competition, will target like this. But I'm going to find a new way, a third way. Yes, 6, 6, and 6, or 3, 3, and 3, right. Or a triangle. Now, when you have a triangle, or three-dimensionally, call it a cube, a 3-dimensional cube. Now, when you have it 3-dimensionally, you've actually got a cube, because what we're looking at, we're living in 3 dimensions, we're not in 2 dimensions. It's not like paper. So in the real world, it's 3-dimensional. So now when you do 3-dimensional, the number 19 works on 3 dimensions. Now, based on those 3 dimensions, you use mathematics, yes, and plan out events and balance it, because only then you can have an equilibrium that you've covered every aspect with the smallest mistakes. And the only mistakes you can have is not in the model or the theory or the planning, but when people make mistakes. Now, I've sent you the cube. Have a look at this cube. It's 3-dimensional, and you've only got 19 spaces. So now the thing is, you calculate from every single angle. So that's why you need 19 to begin with. Yes. That you've calculated that if you're on one side of the cube, you've got the opposition on the other. And you've got to be careful just in case there's number 3, or you should be the 3rd dimension, that you've got to plan better than everybody else. So now when I noticed that all these people were doing these number videos, I noticed them, I thought, hey, there's a root or a basis to this. Now, many people didn't understand this. And this is why there's a professor who's a mathematician called Anatoly Fomenko from Moscow State University. And he looked at history, and he was a mathematician. And he said, hey, look at these mathematical patterns and repeats and everything. And he said, this is just a fraud. It's a scam. What the hell's going on here? Yes, half these things are planned and they're organized. And the thing is, half these other events aren't real. They didn't even happen. So, and he managed to, he successfully showed it. But his books are very difficult. But anybody who's got the time and who can make the effort, I recommend people to read his books. Now, the thing is, my books, I've done them in the simplest way. I sent you some books before, so you know my books are very easy to read, that even high school students can read them. Now, the thing is, I wrote my books not with the purpose of exposing lies. This is not my original purpose. My purpose was this. Many of my friends used to stop me and say, hey, David, you know many things. Where do you think we're going to go when we die? Hey, David, I'm scared. Hey, David, I get bad dreams. David, I don't understand why I can predict the future. Or David, I dreamt this. So people used to tell me these things. And then when they used to tell me, and people were surprised, I normally had a lot of answers. And they used to think David knows many things. And I hated repeating myself to explain things. Yes. So now in my books, I came down to the bottom line. And the bottom line problem I have is this. Now, this is a very serious problem that I've got, is how did I find out about the number 19? Yes, this is a serious question. Yes. Yes. Can you hear me, Andreas?
Yeah. I'm thinking.
How do you think I found out?
I mean, I imagine just because it appears everywhere. Every time you look at a calendar.
No, the thing is, I've noticed that my books, I've got hundreds of friends on my Facebook, and the thing is, they've read my books, and I couldn't believe it. None of them knew. Hardly anybody, only a few people. Very few people. Yes, and do you know what the thing is? Yes. When I started seeing these conspiracy things, yes, many years ago, I thought, let's look at the biggest conspiracy in the world. Yes, well, I started looking at, and I thought, hey, the Vatican is using this. They're saying that God became man on this day. Oh, then they're saying God came out of his grave on this day. September the 11th, there was 19 hijackers. The Iraq war bombing campaign started on the 19th. Then the troops walked in on the 20th. Man arrived on the moon on the 19th in 1969 on the 19th, and he set foot on the moon on the 20th. Neil Armstrong, the guy after him who set foot on the moon, was 19 minutes later. What's his name? Buzz Aldrin. And there was a third man there that day. He ate oatmeal 19 times on the way to the moon. Yeah. So the thing is, I thought I'll look at the biggest conspiracy in the world. And the biggest conspiracy in the world is there's something there that well, I don't want to say none of us, but the majority of when I say us, I'm talking about people in our side of the world. Not me personally, but in our side of the world, we don't like Islam or the Quran. And guess what? The Quran tells you all this. Yes. 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 This is where I found this information.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The Quran.
Yeah.
19.
It tells you the world history is a lie. It tells you they're telling lies. It tells you they've invented this history and written it themselves. They've just made it up. They've invented it. And then it tells you that go out there and you will find this information and that, and then you will know for a fact that this document, the Quran, is not an invented document, that it actually came from God. This is what the Quran itself says.
Okay.
I'm not going to answer for the Quran. It's not for me to speak. I am not the Quran.
Like, so everything okay, so when people talk about Islam, it's kind of like when they talk about the Westboro Baptists. There are
we can talk about Christianity, but the Bible. I'll make it simple, Andreas. When you said to separate it right now, when we talk about Christianity is not the Bible.
Right.
The Mormons are one thing, Jehovah's Witnesses are another, Baptists are another, Church of England is another. Now, Islam has got many people. Right. Forget the people. Exactly. I'm talking about a document called the Quran.
And there's a lot of math.
Now, this document is one of the biggest conspiracies in the world. It's one of the biggest conspiracy documents in the world. Now, all these people have made videos of mud floods, everything, saying, hey, there's been floods here, there's been advanced architecture here, advanced building here. Guess what? The Quran already tells you. So guess what? The Muslims are one step ahead because they've already got this information.
Right.
Yes. Just by reading one book. Yes.
I mean, it's interesting because
and the thing is that everyone's saying, hey, Donald Trump turned around and says, I think Islam hates us. Who is us? Yes, Islam hates them, the people in power. I think so too, because it's clear that they're lying about this history. It's clear that they're lying about the technology and the buildings that are advanced all around the world. They're lying. They're telling you that your great granddaddy, he was a monkey, man. Mm-hmm. Oh, if Jesus' great granddad from the Virgin Mary was a monkey that evolved, how do we know that Jesus had fully evolved that day? Was he still half a monkey?
That's the idea. I think Jesus is supposed to be the first fully evolved human out of monkey, right? That's their
who said this is what I mean. They created all these stories themselves. First, they invented that they're saying God became a man. Yes. Then they're telling us they did same like September the 11th. Yes. September the 11th, in 100 years' time. Right now, I'm in England. You are in America. In 100 years' time, almost everybody's going to believe September the 11th. There was 19 hijackers. Then we had to go, President George Bush declared war on the 19th to go into Afghanistan. Then the land troops were caught inside and the first death was on the 19th in Afghanistan. 19th again, people can go and check it themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. So now the thing is, in 100 years' time, nobody will know. Nobody's going to know. They're going to believe the story that there was a guy called Osama bin Laden who had 19 children, and things like this. They're just going to believe these stories. But the thing is, there's going to be one group of people who are going to still continue with their conspiracies in 100 years' time. These people who follow the Quran, called these Muslims, they're still going to be saying 9/11 was an inside job. It was a fake. In the same way, they're saying that the crucifixion was an inside job, it was a fake. This is what the Muslims are saying. Now, if they said that before, yes, if anybody studies 9/11 and they studied the crucifixion, same like the Virgin Mary's mentioned 19 times in the New Testament. Let's just go through September the 11th. I mentioned it a little before, but it's too boring. So because some people will remember it from before, let's talk about the Boston Marathon so-called attacks. Yeah. This is not Napoleon Bonaparte. So now the Boston Marathon attacks, they closed down the city on the 19th of April, 2013. Yes.
Oh.
The first major suspect who was caught under camera was on the 19th of April. That same year, 19 again. And then how old were these people, these suspects? They were 19 years old, and all the main suspects for the Boston Marathon attack, all the accomplices were 19 years old. The first clear photographs of these attackers, of the Boston attackers, were taken 19 minutes before the attack. Yes. Oh, yeah, these guys, they made a phone call. You know, the Boston attacker made a phone call for 19 seconds before the attack. Oh, when they shut down the city of Boston, I hope people from Boston, some people will listen to this and then spread the information. They shut down the city and they said there was 19,000 National Guards helping to find the army. And then they say that day there was an expert dog. Hey, little doggy, cute doggy. She became a famous doggy. Her name was Dolly. Yes, and she could detect 19,000 different types of explosives. Oh yeah. And then they took the injured people. Yeah. I'm not saying there was injured people or not. I wasn't there, but it's the way they're reporting the story. They're saying the first injured patients arrived 19 minutes later. Yes, and then within 30 minutes at the Boston BWH emergency department, they said that 19 patients were received within the first 30 minutes. Yeah, and now let's look at the accurate details. From the reports of what happened. They said 23 victims were treated at Boston Medical Center, out of which 19 victims were admitted into the hospital because the others were okay. Yeah, let's just go through this. It starts becoming a joke. Yeah, they told the world that these suspects who got arrested were sent to trial, and there's 19,000 pages of legal evidence and statements. 19,000 pages. Yeah, for the trial. So that's why the trial took a long time. Then they say the Boston Marathon Memorial to Victims was completed on the 19th of August, 2019. Yes, and then they say the what's it called? The Citizens Bank and the RBS Bank Citizens immediately started on 19th of April that it's going to start donating funds for the victims, and they had 19,000 colleagues donate. How very fortunate. Thank you to the 19,000 people who started donating on the 19th of April. Wow. Yes? Yeah. The more people study this, they'll think, what the hell? And then it says, there was one victim, who had leg problems, something to do with her leg. It was a woman who lost a leg, and she climbed a 19,000 foot mountain after the attacks. Yes.
Well, there you go. That's how you know you're in business, right?
There's more. Then they made the Boston Marathon Memorial quilt in 2014, and they made sure they made it 19,000 square feet.
What?
They chose these. Yeah, I'm being serious. Then they turn around and say, there's a guy called Neil Diamond, if anybody knows him, a singer, and he donated all the sales and all the money of Sweet Caroline to the Boston Marathon victims.
Aww.
Let's see how many copies he sold. He sold 19,000 copies that week.
Oh my
yes. So he saw for the Sweet Caroline, he donated 19,000 copies. It just goes on and on. So as you've noticed now, now the thing is, yes, so we have a serious problem. How did this Quran know? How did this book from the other side of the world, a group of people that, in our side of the world, many people don't like these people. And this document is already saying all this stuff. The history is a lie. They wrote this, they wrote that, they've lied about this. This is a lie in history, that's a lie. There's been not one flood, but several floods. And it's telling you this happened and that happened. And then it challenges you. And it says, go out there, you're going to find this. I thought, okay, I'll have a look. I had a look and I found it. And the thing is, I've put this in my books. What I've just quoted from is a book called The Alpha and Omega Codes, or the book sometimes called Code 19, depending on the language. Yes. So the thing is, all this information is there. So now the thing is, yes, you only live once. And people are looking for the truth. What are you looking for the truth for? Yeah. Are you looking for the truth, for no reason? Or is it because you're worried that you're going to be in your grave? You're going to die. And there's nothing you can do about it. And if you really want to know where you came from, if there is a God or anything, and if you're going to tell me, hey, we got the Bible, Christ died for your sins. Oh yeah, Christ is God became man on the 19th. He came back from the dead on the 19th. There's 19,000, New Testament copies. Oh, September the 11th had 19 hijackers. Come on. Anybody could smell through it. Yeah. That this is organized, garbage that they've made up themselves. Now, the alternative is the Quran doesn't say much. It's a book that many people say this is a book for conspiracy theorists. It says this is a lie. They're lying. They're lying. They're lying. There was advanced civilizations. They're lying. Go and see. This advanced civilization was there. It got destroyed. You'll find this. You'll find that. They're telling you lies. You're not children of monkeys. They're lying. There was advanced civilization. So the Quran says this, and the Quran doesn't say anything spectacular. It says there was a God. No, it says there is a God, and you are going to meet this God. And it says, be a good person. And the thing is, the Quran says you could be a Muslim, you could be a Jew, you could be anybody good. As long as you're a good person and your heart's in the right place, yeah, you're going to be rewarded. Simple as. Now, if anyone's going to quote modern Islam to me, I don't want to know what people are doing there in the desert or what they're doing in the United States. Different groups, different sects, different leaders, different, religious groups. I don't want to know. Same like I'm not interested what the Mormons are doing, Jehovah's Witnesses are doing, or any of these groups, what they're doing. If I want to know about Christianity, I'm going to look in the Bible and I'm going to see what it says there. Yes. So then after I've had a look, then, this is when I will decide, is this a document? Yes, that's reliable. Is this a document that's got genuine first-class evidence, or is this something that's talking just a lot of codswallop or garbage? Yes. So that's how I will do things. Well, anyway, for Napoleon Bonaparte, we're nowhere near anything. But I just gave examples, Taylor Swift, Boston,
It's interesting when I look up 19 in the Quran, because the Quran, it says the Quran code 19. There are people that have done this work through
yes,
years, right?
Right, that's something different. Now, the thing is, if somebody's going to, right, I'll give you an example now. For example, if I start right now to start studying, if I start studying the Sanskrit Vedas now, then I can't comment on it on the first day. It's going to take me a long time. So now when you're going to go online, you have to check the information, verify it. Yeah, same like when I started studying the Sanskrit documents, I made many Indian friends. I went out there to India and things like this. When I started studying Chinese history, I went to China. I had a look at many documents. Yes, so now if you're going to go online, yes, I've seen many of those things online. There's a lot of, don't forget, Islam is, or the Quran is, something that this side of our side of the world does not like. That's a fact. And the people in power especially. Yes. Now, if anybody tries to deny that, they're lying to themselves. Yes, they're lying to themselves. So if we look online from this side of the world, thinking that we are going to understand something by just looking at websites in the West, we're dreaming. one thing what to do is I'm doing this myself, that every time I look at the Quran, I consult Muslims and I consult Arabs as well. Yes, or otherwise it's a difficult job. Is because there's that much propaganda out there now. It's so difficult. And the Jesuits were amongst the first people to translate the Quran into many languages. And most of the updates in of the Quran translations were by the Jesuits. So, it's like we got to be careful. Same like the thing is, as I've just shown you, there's so many of these Tartaria videos. Yes, Andreas?
Right.
And guess what? Why are none of them mentioning this 19 thing with Napoleon Bonaparte? And they're quoting Napoleon Bonaparte in these documents as if this is history. Why are they doing this? Have they checked the originals? Have they not thought people are desperate to know the truth? People are spending thousands of pounds and dollars, yes, trying to figure out what's going to happen to them when they die. People are going through depression, they're drinking, they're taking drugs. People are thinking, hey, I don't know what the purpose of my life is. And do you know what? This is why, yes, many of these people, yes, who are putting out information there, yes, and who are not checking things and don't check many facts. They think, hey, I'm just going to put this out there. Yeah, a lot of it, yeah, actually, they've got to think again before they do something without checking things properly. Because I've seen many videos that are claiming that Napoleon Bonaparte went all the way to Moscow and there was a comet there at that time, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and they'll say, hey, then Russia got burnt out. Maybe this has got something to do with the Mad Flood. Yeah, and you'll see many of this quite often. Now, because we mentioned Moscow and Russia, I'll go to halfway through the book because, there will be many people who believe these things. Yeah. So, and the thing is, many people are desperate. Now, let's have a look. Moscow city was burnt, according to historians, when Napoleon Bonaparte arrived, and the fire was finished by 19th of September, 1812. Yeah, when Napoleon went to the Kremlin, yes, at that time, they say there was 19 towers, but other historians say there wasn't, there's 20. But the 20th tower is not part of the walls. So the Moscow Kremlin walls has got 19 towers. Whoever put them there. Oh, yes, the Moscow Kremlin wall reaches a height of up to 19 meters. Yes, the Napoleon, yes, realizing that Moscow's burnt and nothing to do, he begins his famous retreat of Moscow on the 19th of October. He just goes on and on. Yes, he goes on and on.
You gotta believe you gotta believe all these paintings, right? The paintings are telling you all. You can see there are at least 19 stories to that Moscow tower in the painting.
Well, about the paintings, I will give you a very simple answer. When you look at the paintings of George Washington and you'll see a short man who's overweight or a very tall man with a small head, then you'll know, hey, there's a forgery here. So now in the Napoleon paintings, yes, we can see that, people who claimed that they met him, or he was famous at the time, and they say thousands of people met him, but the paintings all show somebody different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you said you said before that the thing is they spoke French. Yes, so now the nobility, yes, were speaking French in Europe even before the French people spoke French. So where did the French language come from? A lot of evidence shows in Leo Tolstoy and other books. He wrote Anna Karenina and War and Peace and other things. Yes, and the thing is, a lot of his books show that the upper class and other people are actually speaking French. Yes, this is known. Yes, so now we have a problem. Yes, when was Russia actually invaded? Because they say that Napoleon Bonaparte lost the invasion against Russia. But then everybody in Russia, the upper class, the top 5%, was speaking French. And the Russians couldn't even speak Russian properly. And then there is another thing, my book shows it. The Russian army, yes, yeah, all the way up to World War I, a large percentage of their soldiers had Arabic writing on their swords.
Right.
Yes, in fact, in the Kremlin Museum, Professor Anatoly Fomenko shows almost everything, even the king's crowns and everything, is in Arabic. So this history is it's very suspicious. So the thing is very suspicious. But anyway, getting back to the point, people are genuinely worried. Now, I wrote my books because people want to know the truth. Now, what I've done, I've made the truth simple. I point out the 19 so that everybody can see, hey, this is a mathematical scam. This is impossible. Now, the moment people know that this is an impossible, and they'll know this is not natural. This is impossible, and this is planned and organized, and a lot of this is fake, people will see. Then I show people the alternative, and I show people where I found this information from. I don't hide it. Yes, now if I want to keep my own reputation, yes, because I know that people have a negative impression of Islam and the Quran, because the society we live in has shown that it is the enemy, I can think of myself and my own reputation, yes, and just make up a story and say, I'm a genius. I'm David Ewing, Jr. Same like J.R. Ewing from Texas. I can tell the world and say, I'm a genius. I'm a great mathematician. I noticed all the 19s myself. I'm taking all the credit for myself. I can be a liar. Now, if people want me to be a liar, okay, I'll be a liar. Yeah? And then I'll take all the credit for it. Yes, I'll take all the credit. Same like many other people are doing, they're claiming to be revealing the truth. At least I'm telling people the truth.
The number 19. New idea, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm telling the truth where I found it from. It says in the Quran that there's people there who are plotting and scheming. And it talks about the number 19 and says that you will find the truth through this. It tells you this. That's in chapter 74 of the Quran. Many of the translations are done by Jesuits online. So I recommend people not to trust them. If they know any people who speak fluent Arabic, tell that person to open the Quran and sit down in front of you and tell you what it means. Don't trust online translations, except a few. It's a nightmare. Right. In my books, I've done a translation as near as I can. Yeah. So the thing is, I'm telling people this because people are desperate. People are worried, thinking, hey, what is the reason for why am I alive? What is the purpose? I'm seeing all these things
backwards. They're telling, this is we got Arabic, French speaking Russians in a place where Napoleon can't be proven to be found. That's a lot. That's a lot for people.
It's a lot, but everybody knows.
Yeah,
everybody knows that something is wrong.
We can find.
Yeah. People are not stupid. Everybody knows that there is something wrong with the weapons of mass destruction, and they took the war in Iraq. 19 years. Yes, a war in Afghanistan was another 19 years. Yes, so and the war in Vietnam was another 19 years. Yes, everybody knows there is something wrong. Everybody knows that it's a big joke. So now the thing is, if people want to know, yes, maybe the truth is on the other side of the world, on the side of the world that everybody thinks is garbage. Yes, if people are looking down saying, no, that's the enemy, maybe that is not the enemy.
Right.
Maybe the truth is on that side. Because what is wrong? What is wrong with this Quran? All it's saying is that Jesus Christ was a man. All it's saying is that Jesus Christ was a normal man and he was a prophet, or prophet like a professor, a teacher. What is wrong when the Quran says this? That it's saying he wasn't Superman. That it's saying that, he wasn't God who came back from the dead. He wasn't the Son of God. He is not part of a Trinity. What is wrong when the Quran says, hey, God is God, simple as. And God created the world, and God created the world from nothing. Yes, that's how powerful God is. And the way the Quran defines God, many people in the United States and in Europe are not atheists. They reject Christianity in the Bible, but they believe in a God in their heart, and they say that God is close to them. That's exactly what the Quran says. The Quran says that God is closer to you than your own skin. And God knows you better than you know yourself. Yes.
Right.
So,
I think if
so
things were
actually, the
perfect,
definition of God, by most people's standards, is actually how the Quran defines God.
I
Yes.
think at most, I think for the most part, people would find that there's no pure truth in their own in their own didactic belief. If everyone shared what they knew, there'd be more truth between the two of them. I feel
Okay.
like it's not one or the
What
other.
do you mean by in their own? Most people.
I think there's a problem here thinking that Islam would have probably made the world a much better place everywhere if it was the 100% pure truth. It probably has some of the truth, and we have some of the truth, and we have to combine it.
Yes, yes, you've got a great point. I'm not talking about Islam here. I'm talking about the Arabic Quran.
Right.
I'm making this clear.
Huge distinction.
Yes, I'm separating that book because Islam as a religion is what people are doing. Yes, I'm not talking what people are doing because I know people who've read the Quran and they've said, "Hey, I'm from Holland. I read the book, but I met some people who live in my neighborhood. They're Muslim, and they told me this is their definition of Islam and what they do. But I read the Quran, and none of this stuff is in that book." Yes.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No, same like somebody can say, "Hey, I read the Bible." Yes, and I've seen Christians doing this,
right.
and none of this stuff is in the Bible.
Right.
Yes.
It's interesting also because you pointed out the Uthman Quran at some point, and it's very different looking. It's written in the old style. I mean, it's where's
Yes.
the Uthman Quran?
Now the thing is, I mentioned the basics of that.
Right.
Now that is another long story. It came from Russia, but the history of Russia is very suspicious.
Yeah.
That Russia used to have its own calendar, and then they changed the calendar under Peter the Great. Anybody can check this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Peter the Great, let me just find it. Yes, what did he do? Peter the Great, let me see.
He's famous for a lot of things. Peter the Great also did the transatlantic, trans-Siberian train and telegram line. He gets credit for so many things.
Right. Now, Peter the Great in 1699. Are you talking about Catherine the Great or Peter the Great?
Catherine's son,
Oh,
Peter. Catherine's
okay.
son, Peter. Yeah. He was
Okay. Well, Peter the Great of the year 1699.
Yeah.
Yes. Changed the Russian calendar on the 19th of December 1699.
There we go.
And that calendar, historians claim that calendar was 7,000 years old. Now, Peter the Great, he married Catherine on 19th of February 1712.
Wow.
So the thing is, the more we go into this thing, at first, anybody who reads my books, at first they read one or two, they'll think, yeah, this is very suspicious. But most people who've read almost all my books, I've noticed that people woke up and they came to a conclusion. And then if I tell them something, people already know. It's because it's like this. Once you know that coronavirus is a scam, nobody could change your mind. Right. Once you know that the weapons of mass destruction is a scam, that's it. You woke up. Once you know that September the 11th was an inside job, no matter what people are going to say or video evidence they're going to show you, you know that it's a scam. Yes.
I mean, Peter
so
the
now
Great
the
is a huge rabbit hole in and of itself. Everything that happened in Russia from Catherine to Peter and the changing of
these people didn't exist.
Not even Catherine? Oh, wow.
I've just shown you Peter. Which Catherine? The first Empress Catherine or Catherine the Great?
Catherine the Great, mother of Peter the Great.
No, she came after Peter the Great.
Oh, indeed. Peter the Great. Hold on.
Yeah, Peter the Great came before. Well, we'll focus on the Russian dynasties on another day. Is because today we started about Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yeah.
So now we've got all these problems. So now when some people have a look online, what they will find is for Napoleon doesn't exist. Is the people in power are very smart. What they did was they pretended there was a document from the 19th century that tries to show that Napoleon is Napolo, copied from Apollo, and then they tried to show his generals match this, that, and everything.
Oh,
yes.
That makes the most sense. of Apollo.
No, that's what they did.
Right.
But it doesn't make much sense because anybody who reads
It's more reasonable.
the story of Napoleon very deeply will say it doesn't make sense. So they did it on purpose.
No, I mean
Now,
the
the thing
Apollo,
is,
the Apollo thing. Yeah, that makes sense.
no, it doesn't make sense because there is more. What people don't realize, the word Napoleon is two words. Leon in Latin, French, Spanish, English basically means lion.
Mhm.
And then the word Nabi actually means prophet, the lion prophet.
Okay.
And then the thing, he was leading the French. And the French, yes, were fighting somebody in the United States to kick them out. And they're telling us that the French fought the British. Maybe it wasn't the British, it was somebody else. And now the thing is, many people have not checked this, but the word French, yes, they say that the language came from Latin, but this is a long story. It's not. It didn't exactly. But they say that after the Renaissance, the Vatican and its allies, they were in Firenze or Florence. Firenze or Firenze. Firen. Now, the thing is, Firen, if somebody reads the Quran, then they soon begin to start to understand. Firan or Firan was the name of Pharaoh who fought against Moses.
Okay.
Yes. So now his name was Firan. So if Firan in Arabic. So this is
all back to the
to
obelisk
do.
in Paris, right? The French obelisk and the Pharaoh. Oh man.
Yes, as you've noticed, and then when you said that in Holland they spoke French, not just in Holland, in the 17th, 18th century, the nobility, another thing, did many documents and spoke French in Poland, in Germany, in Italy, in England as well. And the thing is, they helped the so-called American War of Independence or Revolution. Were they really fighting the British, or were they fighting Tartaria or the Kingdom of God? So now the thing is, the Quran gives a totally different history. So now the thing is, why is it giving a different history? And on the other side of the world, these people, these Muslims, are just not going to accept any other history apart from what's in that book. Apart from the ones who went to school in England, France, Germany, America, Canada, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea. They've been brainwashed with the history that we're taught. Now, that history, that anybody who examines it will think, hey, there's something wrong with this history. It doesn't make sense. Let's see, at a time when there's no roads, no nothing, and the grass is very big, they didn't have grass cutters, and Napoleon Bonaparte is marching with thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of men, marching all the way all around Europe. Let's see if they could do that, yeah? And he's carrying heavy guns and everything, and he's got to take it, to feed the soldiers, you need hundreds of thousands of animals and everything, and they're marching around having glorious battles. It's just a lot of garbage. It's just a lot of garbage. Nobody has seriously thought to imagine. You know, Andreas, I don't know where you are, but if you're in Chicago, let's see you dare to walk to New York from Chicago.
Right? Now. I mean, I don't know what's worse, now or then. Pretty sure, but yeah.
But I'm not talking about just you. I want you to see if you can get 100,000 people to walk along the way, or are they going to start deserting you?
Gosh.
People are going to start deserting, and they're telling us Napoleon Bonaparte, and he took all these soldiers. They knew what they were doing, and these generals could command these armies, but these people didn't even speak French. Yes.
They probably did by the end of this, or they were dead. See what I mean? Like, you just force the people to change.
They're not going to pick up a language while they're marching. Well, how did they do their toilet? There's no roads there. How are they carrying the animals, the guns? Don't forget, the guns were heavy in them days. We're talking about 200 years ago. The bullets, everything. The stories just doesn't make sense.
You gotta dig a hole.
It's garbage. Everybody knows it. It's garbage. And then they're telling us the American Civil War and the American War of Independence was very similar. It's the same garbage. It's just ridiculous. These stories are just ridiculous that nobody has thought seriously for a minute. If anyone goes through this, American War of Independence, let's see if I've got something ready. I mentioned Napoleon. Now the thing is, if I mention America, Now, the thing is, these are all in my books, and I recommend people for the Matrix or Code 19 or Alpha and Omega codes, because people are going to be asking about and people are really going to be worried about this. So now let me send you a few things, and about the American War of Independence, and then you'll soon know it's just a joke. The Battle of Gettysburg. You've heard of that, yes?
Oh yeah, I remember. Good time.
Yeah,
The craziest story, because Americans are told that people used to just go sit in the grass and watch people do battle. It was like
okay. Don't worry. Battle of Gettysburg. Yeah, 19,000 soldiers.
There you go.
Yes,
I remember that too. Back in my mind, I remember that because as a kid, they make you remember these things. 19,000 people died at Gettysburg. Okay.
Oh, so they're actually
they enforce this. Yeah, they want you to think it.
Yes. So yeah, the truth is that's why they called it COVID-19. They're using this number on purpose. They changed the calendar to make sure it was the 19th. Yes,
right.
19th century. Yes,
it's even a little late. Anyway,
yeah. Yeah. So now let me go through. There's the Battle of Long Island, or known as the Battle of Brooklyn. Yes, and George Washington, he goes to that battle. He marches there with 19,000 soldiers. The Battle of Long Island or the Battle of Brooklyn. When he reaches New York, he's got 19,000 soldiers. George Washington. People don't check any of this. And the evacuation of 19,000 US troops from Long Island. Yes, they evacuated 19,000 troops. Yeah, so I've given you that. People can check through it themselves. Yeah, but wait, the Washington Monument, yes, it took 19 years to construct. Yes, and it opened on February 21, 1885. 19 years to construct. The Washington Monument.
Of course.
Yes. Let's see. The Smithsonian Institute, yes, has got 19,000 skeletal remains. Forget that one. Oh, I don't want to share that yet.
Oh, come on. All right.
No.
All right.
No, I'm going to save that for another one. Oh, yeah. The U.S. Civil War declares Juneteenth, 19th of June, for, slavery being abolished or something. Yes. And that Black Lives Matter uses that. All this is described in my books.
Oh, that's why I keep freaking out about June 19th. Oh, you got me.
Yeah, don't worry about that. All that is in my books.
No, that's huge.
It shows Malcolm X.
June 19th.
Malcolm X born on the 19th.
I feel so dumb because this is in America right now. There is nothing more poignant and talked about than June 19th. Juneteenth is a holiday they're trying to make. They're trying to turn June 19th into the most important holiday in the world because it has to do with slavery and freedom and, the people being free. Okay. June 19th is a day that
because you mentioned that, I was going to go to the Civil War, but I'm not going to do the Civil War, yes, but anybody read my books, trust me, it's so big, and I'm sorry I won't do that because I want to go on to June 19 now. Okay. Because the thing is, you are going to think, what the hell? But this is in my books. And you'll soon start thinking, damn, David, even you will want to read my books and you'll be totally worried. Malcolm X. Yeah, let's start with Malcolm X. And what do we know about him?
He's awesome.
What does it?
He better exist. Don't tell me Malcolm X doesn't exist. I won't be able to handle it.
Right. Malcolm X, yes. They turn around and say that there's the FBI files on him. Yeah. And the FBI files have got 19 sections. Yeah. 19 sections for the Malcolm X files.
That's the second time I've seen 36 also, or third at least. 36.
Yeah, now Malcolm X wrote his autobiography while he was alive. He took part in it with Alex Haley. That's the main autobiography. But because the guy got killed, they had to stop the autobiography at chapter 19, unfortunately. Yes. And Malcolm X, he found out, he told the world that they're going to kill me, they're going to assassinate me. And he announced it to television, to Gordon Parks, on the 19th of February, 1965. Oh, yeah, Muhammad Abdul Aziz, yes, got sent to prison for assassinating Malcolm X. And he's always said, it's not me, I didn't do it. But they sent him to jail for 19 years. And he keeps saying, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. Oh, yeah, Denzel Washington made the film Malcolm X. Yeah. And they were so lucky. The movie got, at that time, it got 19 awards. I could just go on and on and on. Yeah, I'm being serious to you that you will think that this is one of the
There it
most
is.
organized, controlled, you know, stuff that's going on.
19 wins
Yeah,
and 24 nominations, 1823. I mean, it's just everything all at once. It's a lot. 19 wins.
yeah, yeah. So now, let me show you now. So the Black Lives Matter, Juneteenth. George Floyd died on 25th of May, 2020.
Right.
Immediate reports were 19,000 people watched the video of George Floyd live as he died. Whether it was live or not is another issue.
Right.
So now Black Lives Matter. Where did the idea come from? Black Lives Matter at school? Yeah. Where did this idea come from? The idea started 19th of October 2016 for
Wow.
it to be taught in school. Oh, yeah. So now, according to historians, 19th of June is the end of slavery. I've already sent you that. So now they turn around and say that during the Civil War, 190,000 African Americans served in the Civil War. Yes. The historians say it's about 186,000, or call it 190,000 African Americans. And then they say out of this, 19,000 African Americans were in the U.S. Navy during the Civil War. Yes, there was 19,000 of them. Now, there's the American natives. They were inspired by Black Lives Matter, and they had their first protest on 19th of December 2014, and it's called Native Lives Matter. Yes, and when the George Floyd protests happened in June 2020, at the height of the protests, 19 people died during the first 14 days of protest, or the 2 weeks of the major protest. 19 people died. Yes, and what do you call it? Yeah, at that time, the DEA, Detectives Endowment Association, the president, he was so angry, and he said, "We're going to take legal charges against these violent protesters." Yes, because we're so angry what they're doing with the 19,000 detectives at the DEA.
Oh, man, and Lakota attorney Chase Iron Eyes, who is the father of the Iron Eyes girl with Ezra Miller. This is okay. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So now they turn around and say, in Seattle at that time, they created a police-free zone. That was famous for a few days around the world. Yeah. And they turn around and say that people were so angry because of police brutality. Yes. So, during this so-called Seattle police-free zone, right, at that time, people were so angry, they made 19,000 reports against the police force of the city of Seattle. Are you beginning to see?
Yeah.
Oh, so now we've got the George Floyd Memorial Fund. It raised $10 million in the first week. And how many people donated in the first week? 190,000. That's 190,000 people. Yes. And then they turn around and say, everyone's so angry because there's a new tweet and it's about George Floyd and it's called Floyd 19, the tweet.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Dude, totally.
Yeah, many people are not. And then they said,
side of 19.
Yeah, then they said there was a major protest in England, and they were so angry because there was an Englishman who kidnapped Africans and sold them as slaves in America, and they had Black Lives Matter protest in England, and they did it because there was this man from England in the 19th century and 18th century, or around that time. I didn't check, but his name is Edward Colston. But the media and the news and historians say he 19,000 African slaves died because of his, trading 19,000. So at that time, you know what they did in 2020? They interviewed people and said, what do you think is the biggest problem in America today? And 19% of Americans who were interviewed said it's racism.
Of course. Yeah.
19%. So now let's have a look. And they were saying the protests of 2020 are violent. And the media kept saying, why can't they be like Martin Luther King, having these peaceful protests like the sit-in protest? Well, why don't they just follow Martin Luther King? He had the sit-in peaceful protest and they were arrested on the 19th of October, 1960.
There you go. October 19th.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then John F. Kennedy, yes, when he became president, yeah, he released Martin Luther King. They say the media teaches this, but the elections are a fraud and it's all a lie. John F. Kennedy, they say he helped to release Martin Luther King. No, they're all on the same side. So what happens is when John F. Kennedy becomes elected, he sends his civil rights bill to Congress on the 19th of June, 1963. Yes, and then what do you call it? Yes, Martin Luther King has become famous because the Senate's passed a bill to make a national holiday for Martin Luther King. Yes, and they passed this bill in the U.S. Senate on the 19th of October, 1983. Yes, and for the Black Lives Matter protest at that time, there were many. The New York Times and everybody reported it that out of their protesters, 19% of the people who protested in 2020 were new people, new protesters. Yes, and the Black Lives Matter website that's advertising June the 19th in 2020, they had 1.9 or 1900 million people visit their website, and these people are on their email list. You're beginning to see it. It just goes on and on and on. There's more. Oh yeah. When people see this, let me tell you, it's so exciting actually. They told the world that Derek Chauvin was the police officer who killed George Floyd. Derek Chauvin was born on 19th of March, 1976. Derek Chauvin was a police officer with the Minneapolis Police Department for 19 years. He was born on the 19th, and he was a police officer for 19 years. Can you believe this? Yes. And then the city of Minneapolis, the city council, had to pay 19 million British pounds to the family of George Floyd. Yes. And Derek Chauvin was placed on trial. And the closing day of the trial, the day that everybody's watching it saying, hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's the last day? It was on 19th of April, 2021. And then, the jury had their results out 10 hours later, but that time it was the 20th of April. They kept the show going because so many people were watching. It was a success to brainwash people, to get them to watch all this stuff. But as you can see, yes, that all this stuff is in my books. Now it's up to everybody in the world if they want to carry on and believe in a half the fake history. And the thing is, if you don't like the Quran, that's not my problem. I'm not supporting the Quran or against it. I found this information from that book, so I'm not going to lie about it. Now, I'm scared to lie about it, and because I found, hey, this is something so big. This information is so big, and even you've noticed with the amount of 19s, I've noticed that you would have loved to have had a two-way conversation today. But I noticed
good, actually, I'm glad to hear all this
information. Yes, I noticed that after the first few minutes, you thought, damn, this is a bit too much. This 19 is too much. And then I noticed you let me continue. And Andreas, I know it's going to be a lot of hard work for you to produce this video, because there's so many pictures. I've never requested on your behalf, but I'm saying if anybody listens to your video, I hope they give you a donation. It's because I genuinely think that you deserve it. Yeah, because it's very hard work. Yes, well, it's very hard work, and I know it will take you quite some time to prepare this video.
Well,
yes?
I hope people also take the time to go and search out all of your books, because there's just so many amazing books, and you've got 2 more now since the last video. So I'm going to go through the Napoleon one, because I think this has to be a 2-parter. I'm going to do all of this, and then in the meantime, we should talk a bit about doing a Napoleon video, because there's so much that you've just come up with.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
Same like when I mentioned ancient Greece. I could have talked about the 19 about Greece that day. I didn't focus on it. Or it's just too much that anybody will know. The history of Plato, Aristotle, and the rest of them. It's just fake. It's a garbage. It's just total garbage.
Is 19 right now. That connects to that Iron Skies lawyer. That's the daughter of the lawyer for the George Floyd thing. I mean, there's just so many things.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
There's so much of it, and the thing is, in my books, I've gone through it in detail. Now, the thing is, the purpose. Um, uh, Many people will want to know more information. If you really want to know why we are alive, yes, I don't totally know. I'm not going to pretend and say I know. I'm not going to lie to you and say I know. I don't know. I have beliefs like everybody else. Now, some people will say, am I against Jesus Christ? No, I think he was a great man.
Absolutely not right.
Yeah, I think he was a great man. But I'm not going to just say, maybe he jumped out of his grave. I don't know that. I don't have the proof. But what the evidence does show is that Christianity and the Vatican and all these other people in power have fabricated history, and they are using the number 19, and have found it with the lies within Christianity. Now, if somebody's going to ask me to accept that, how can I?
Right.
How can I? When the evidence is against it, I'm somebody that I look for evidence. I'm not somebody that is just going to sit there on a theory. Now, when I saw this number 19 thing, yes, and I'm seeing it in events that are happening today, that's when I know it's organized. When I see it in the media, that's when I know they're reporting something with a lie, and maybe there's something more, they're hiding something more. This is when I investigate. But why am I doing it? Because the Quran actually gives you this advice. It says, don't believe this, don't believe them, investigate this, don't accept this information. Oh, by the way, almost every religion in the world tells you to believe. The Quran doesn't do this. The Quran actually says don't accept information without investigating and checking it and verifying it yourself.
Right.
This is totally different from what I'd expect. Most religions are there. I've noticed they brainwash you. It actually tells you, check it. Don't believe something. Go and check something. You must investigate. And then it says, hey, if you see something in history, go and check. Look inside your cities, examine this, examine that. It actually tells you. Now, other religions say, hey, this happened, that happened. Historians say this, that happened, and they say, this is it. No, the Quran actually tells you to do something else. That the Quran makes people intelligent. This is why the people in power don't like that book. Because that book is going to tell you, hey, question, examine, analyze. And it actually tells you this. Now, many other religions don't say that, but people are going to say, oh, no, they said it in parables, in a sentence that's referring to. No, the Quran is simple as, and says, if any information comes from here or there, examine it. Don't accept it. If you know, let's say, if somebody's going to say, hey, that the United States government is a good government, they lied about weapons of mass destruction. They're lying about September the 11th. And do you know what a big joke is? They're saying Donald Trump released, I think it was 19,000 documents or 190 documents of John F. Kennedy's case files. Yeah, notice the 19 again. There's a Pruder video was, I think it was 19 seconds long or something, you know. Yeah, the thing is, they released the John F. Kennedy case files, you know, after the people from that generation were dead in Donald Trump's days. So are they trying to tell us that we should trust these people? Huh? That they're going to release the records of September the 11th in 50, 60 years' time, by the time they've tampered with everything and modified and changed everything? And they've invented the story themselves? Yes. So this is the thing. So now the Quran is a totally different book. Anyway, let's leave it at that. I'm not supporting Islam or against it. I'm not talking about that religion. I'm talking about that book where I found the information from. Because if anybody is asking, how did I find this information? I've told you, it's from that book. Yes?
Well, I hope that people take the time to also go back, because it's funny in terms of synchronicity. The Skull and Bones video we did has 91,000, which is a little inverse. And then we're at 18,000 on the Quran of Ancient Tartaria, which is the Uthman Quran video that we did almost 2 years ago. So I hope people take a time and look into that video too, because there's just so much information about the Quran and what it is as a mathematical book, a historical book. There's a lot to it beyond.
Yes, if people are looking for the truth, the thing is, everybody should investigate. Don't believe people. I'm telling people, don't believe me. Maybe I got the information from aliens. Maybe I'm speaking to aliens in a spaceship, and they've come from Antarctica.
You're
Yes,
not saying
maybe.
that, but who's to say it's not? You know what I mean? You don't know. We don't know.
Yes.
Look into it
who's to
yourselves,
say?
everybody. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yes.
David.
Okay.
it's
Okay,
wonderful
Andreas.
having you.
Let's
Thank you
leave
again.
it at that. I'm sorry that today we didn't manage to have a two-way conversation because I noticed you suddenly went quiet as I was giving more information. I felt that you wanted me to actually
It's
come
important.
out with this more. That I could feel that you're totally surprised.
It's important that we cover this stuff, and if we want to get to the next thing, we got to go through it in solid.
There's too much to put into a video. It's all in the books anyway.
Right. All right.
It's all in the books. So if anybody's going to say, hey, this is flimsy, it's not enough, like how Danny DeVito says in the movie Johnny Dangerously says, I got evidence, I've got this and that. And Danny DeVito, he's cool. He says, it's flimsy. It's not enough.
That's the point. Go read it, everyone. They're quick.
Yes.
You can get through
Instead
this
of turning around and saying, hey, this guy said this guy said that. It's like one person I noticed when they said, hey, this guy said Hebrew is a dialect of Arabic. And he's saying this and that. Do these people even know what a language is? Did they ever spend time in Peru with village people that people from one village don't understand the next village? Are they speaking different languages or dialects? And what is the definition of a dialect or a language?
Man, I got so confused trying
Do
to
these
speak
people
Spanish.
even know? How many languages do these people speak? So the thing
If
is,
you go to
many
try to speak
people.
Spanish in Argentina and they do the ja sound instead of the ya sound, it'll confuse you. You know?
Yeah, does that mean it's a different language or is it just somebody's pronunciation?
Right.
So now the thing is, if I turn around and said something is a dialect, now the definition, meaning of a dialect and language based on the context of the conversation, the several meanings to every single thing. Now the intelligent person will understand. The argumentative person who cannot see the overall general point is going to, just be argumentative, the difficult person. But one thing is, yes, I'm sure that anybody who saw that, who goes through this video today, I've just given a basic introduction on Napoleon Bonaparte. Even we've just got to the day that the guy is crowned as emperor, and he's nothing but 19 in the major events. They've made sure that the number 19 stands out in a major way. And I've given too many examples of other events in history. So there's something going on. And if people want to know, there's my books. And if they say they don't want to read my books, okay, there's that book called the Arabic Quran, the Quran. Go and read it.
Go read it yourself.
If you want to know. Yes. Simple.
Also,
Simple.
anybody who is English isn't their first language, no excuse. David's books are in every language I've ever heard of.
There's many languages, yeah.
They're translated every direction. So if you want,
and I've written the books to be high school standard English.
Right.
It's basic English so that anybody can translate it on let's say Bing Translate or Google Translate.
Yeah, hand these to your kids. People can read this. That's the point. So
yes, yeah, that's something, a good point you've made there. Yeah, I know some people who've actually done that. Anyway, Andreas, let's leave it at that.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartaryans.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.